Does life feel busy? Never have enough time to get it all done? What about all your goals for the new year? What if adding more to our lives isn't the answer? What if we could accomplish more by doing less? What if less is truly the more we're longing for? Join us for a new series this January as we learn to hurry up and slow down.
Well, what's up, Adventure Church? I hope you had a great Christmas and a great New Year. You know, this is the time of year, right, when we, I think, kind of take a look back. We reflect on the past year and what it's held. And man, these last 2 years, right, have been just pretty wild. And there's a lot to kind of look back on. There's a lot to reflect on. And then we also look to the future. And we look to a new year. And it kind of gives us this clean slate, if you will, of, hey, now we have the opportunity to start some things, maybe to stop some things. We begin to set goals for everything we want to accomplish. And I know for me personally, the list can kind of get long, right? I want to read all these books, and I want to, do this more with my kids. I want to do this more with my wife. I want to invest more in these areas and do different things. And so there's a lot of stopping and starting and lists that we put together and New Year's resolutions and goals that we throw up there. But this year, I really felt like maybe that's not what I should do. Maybe that's not what you should do. What if adding more to our lives next year really isn't the answer? What if we could accomplish more by actually doing less? What if less is truly the more that we're longing for? I really think that it is. So during this month of January, we're going to be starting a series called Hurry Up and Slow Down. See what I did there? Based on the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. In his book, Comer recalls this conversation happening between two spiritual giants, John Ortberg and Dallas Willard. And Ortberg calls up Willard and asks him this question. He says, what do I need to do to become the me that I want to be? Man, isn't that a great question? Isn't that kind of the question we're all asking ourselves as we kind of embark and embrace this new year? Like, what do I need to do to really become the me I want to be? It said that there was a long silence on the other end of the line. And then he finally answers and he said, you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. So John scribbles it down on his journal and he goes, okay, well, what else? What else do I need to do? He says there's another long pause of silence. And Willard replies, there's nothing else. Hurry is the great enemy of the spiritual life of our day. You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. I don't know about you, but I almost feel like I'm constantly in a hurry. It's rare that I leave the house not trying to get somewhere sooner than I needed to be there. I'm a little behind. And with the pace of our lives, there's a problem that I would call in our culture today. It's a pace problem. There's a problem with pace in our culture. We're running at a pace that we shouldn't be running at, that we weren't designed to run at, that God doesn't call us to run at. Reminds me, there was a church I was working at many years ago now, and they were doing a 5K fun run. And I think even the wording there is misleading, right? There's nothing fun about running. Come on. I don't know who enjoys running. I mean, some of you enjoy running. I'm not one of those people. But it was a 5K fun run for charity. And you could walk, you could run, you could kind of do whatever. And so myself and my wife and our kids at the time, we had little kids, we had a stroller. And there's a bunch of wives, pastors' wives there, and friends that we knew. They were all kind of lining up at the race with their strollers. They're just going to walk and enjoy. It was a beautiful day. It was at a kind of on this lake that had this trail around it. It was like, wow, it's going to be great. And I was excited. I was like, we're just going to walk and have fun, enjoy the run. And I looked around. I said, hey, where are all your husbands? Where are all the other pastors at? Where is everyone? And they go, oh, they're up at the front. They're running. And I was like, what? They're running? Why would they want to do that? Like, well, they're going to run. I guess they're competitive. They want to see what they could do. And so I walk up to the front, and man, they're all decked out like in running gear and ready to go. And I kind of felt this, tension of like, do I go back with the wives and the babies, or am I going to have to like man up and run this thing? And so I didn't have an option really, right? I manned up. I was like, oh, y'all are running? Cool, yeah, I'm running. I started stretching out, doing my thing, and they take off in this race, and man, I'm trying to run with them. And they're just running at a pace that was not possible for me. And I was trying to keep up. Eventually, I just kind of got behind. But man, I was still running hard because I thought, I'm going to catch these dudes. I'm going to catch them. And it was a 5K, so 3 point whatever miles that is. And so I ran the race. And I think I got a little over 30 minutes or something like that, which I thought was pretty good for me. But can I just tell you something? The next day, I could barely walk. It literally about killed me, running at that pace. It was a pace that I should not have been running at, that I wasn't trained to run for, that I wasn't designed to run for, and the pace about killed me. That is what's happening in our culture. Literally, most of us are running at a pace that's going to kill us if we don't slow down. That's going to leave us in the dust if we don't figure out a way out of that race. You see, we're running at speeds that we just can't keep up with, no matter how hard we try, because it's a pace that's outside of God's grace for us. God designed you, created you, and designed you to run and to operate and to live a certain way. And many of us, our calendars are overflowing with events. We have deadlines at work. We have kids, sports, activities. We're constantly connected through these phones and through our computers. We never unplug. We never shut it down. This causes us, like the symptoms of this and the implications of this, is we begin to push the important things of our life that require slower paces to kind of the peripherals. We push them out to the side, and we begin to sacrifice what's best for us on the altar of urgent. We're running at a pace problem that our culture has. And honestly, you're not doing it on purpose. You're just trying to keep up with culture. But before we know it, our relationship with God begins to suffer. We try to squeeze some time with Him into our day, to read the Bible, to worship, to try to get to church once or twice a month. And we pack our lives with stuff, and the relationship with God suffers. But not only that, the relationship with those we love does as well. Our spouse, our kids, our family, our siblings, our friendships begin to suffer. I want to ask you something. As we're embarking on a new year, does this describe you at all? Do you feel worn out? Maybe even burnt out? Like just thinking about trying to keep up with what the new year is going to bring makes you just want to stay in bed and pull the covers back over your head? I know I've been there. Let me tell you something. This isn't the way God intended it to be. And it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to stay this way. There's a solution to this pace problem. There's a solution to this hurry problem that most of us, I would say, find ourselves in. And during this month of January, throughout this whole series, we're going to learn what it means to truly slow down, to live at a sustainable pace that's fueled with God's grace. Let me say that again. To live at a sustainable pace, man, that is fueled with God's grace, that is strengthened, that God breathes His presence and power into our lives. And let me just tell you, the solution to the problem, the answer to the problem is not finding more time. That's not it. We all have the same amount of time. The solution is to slow down. The solution is to simplify our lives around what really matters most. It reminded me of a story. Jesus is with Martha and Mary, and Jesus is coming over, and Mary is just being present with Jesus, you know. And Martha's hurrying around, trying to prepare dinner, trying to get everything ready. She's hurry. And she gets frustrated that Mary's just kind of chilling out, relaxing, just soaking up Jesus' presence. And Jesus looks at her in Luke 10 and he says, Martha, Mary has chosen the better option here. We all have choices. You have choices of what you can add to your calendar, what you can take away, what you can involve in your life, what you can get out of your life. We all have choices, and we must do what Jesus told Martha. He said, choose the better. There's two options here. You can hustle, bustle, move around, try to do everything, make everything right. No. Choose the better. Slow down. Be with me. Sit in my presence. Choose the better is what I'm going to ask you to do as we start this year. You see, Jesus lived a life of purpose with great intentionality. And when we study his life, he invites us to follow in his footsteps. I always think about this. Jesus had 3 years to establish this movement of Christianity, the gospel, the good news that's reached billions of people. He had 3 years to establish this movement. That's probably what brought you and I together here today. And in 3 years, that's all the time that he had. He still found time for what mattered most. And we can learn from the rhythms of his life. We can learn from the practices and the disciplines that he established and how we can incorporate those things into our lives to allow us to live the life that Jesus promised us. Jesus said, I've come to give you life and life to the full. And friend, it's not full of, that doesn't mean a full calendar. That means full of joy. That means full of peace. That means full of the presence of God in our life. And Jesus offers us this life to his followers. Doesn't it sound appealing? I believe it does, man. I'm excited about this series and what we're going to talk about over the next few weeks. We're going to look at how Jesus spent time in solitude and silence. He withdrew often. Even when there was people that needed him, that needed healed, he would step away. He would withdraw. He would go spend time with God. He would get refreshed and renewed. And I think that's what we all long for, right? Silence. Doesn't silence sound nice? No pun intended, right? What would that look like for you? What would that look like in your life to have moments of solitude and silence throughout your day? Jesus also took Sabbath every week. He took one day where he stopped everything so he could refresh and replenish his soul. What does Sabbath look like for you? And I'm not just saying a day off work, friend, because we all take days off work, but then we fill our day off work with more stuff. I'm talking about Sabbath, like unplugging, disconnecting, turning off your phone, totally getting rid of the distractions to focus on what matters most in your life, to spend time with those that you love, to be refreshed and replenished. How can we do that? What does that look like? We're going to talk about that. After all, it was in the 10 Commandments. Jesus had solitude and silence, Sabbath. Jesus also lived a life of simplicity. He kept things simple. He lived a simple life. Possessions were not his passion. People were. Spending time with those people is what mattered most to Jesus, and he did it very well. He lived a simplistic life where less truly was more with him. And he also lived at a very slow pace. There was a pace that he had, and he didn't have a problem saying no even to the good opportunities. And we have to learn how to hit pause and pump the brakes on the pace of this world. Let me tell you, I don't think it's going to be easy. That's why I said we have to establish these practices and even, I would say, disciplines that Jesus had and implement them into our life. It's not going to be easy, but with God's help, I'm telling you, it's possible. And I believe 2022 can be the year where we begin to experience deep connection to our Heavenly Father, that we get a legit day off away from it all. We begin to replenish our souls and invest in the relationships that matter most in our lives, that we can really simplify our lives around the things that matter most to us and live at a pace that is fueled by God's grace, living in who He created you to be, fully, freely in who He created you to be. Sounds amazing, right? Because it is amazing. And that's the life Jesus is inviting you to live. And it's possible to live. when you're in right relationship with Him. And so, next week, we start this journey. And I invite you to come back January 9th, in person or online, as we figure out how to hurry up and slow down. I pray God blesses you, that He gives you a great week, and I can't wait to see you then.